שלום לכולם. אהלן, sorry. Hi everybody, and thanks for coming. We're going to have a 30-minute session talking about the 21st century skills. I'm Daniel Weil, the director of Tikkun Olam Makers. We are a global network of communities helping people with disability by creating open code solutions and putting them on online on a public domain. We have 4 inspiring guests. The first one that sits next to me is Ohad Lavi, the CEO of Neurotech Solutions, Aviv Snir from Elevation Academy, Omer Kalderon from Selina, and Sean from Hobson from Arizona State University. At the beginning, I will ask each one of those persons to present himself and his organization in a few minutes. So we'll start with you, Ohad.
So hello everyone, and thank you, Yaki, for inviting me to this panel. My name is Ohad Lavi. I'm the CEO of Neurotech Solutions. Our company is focused on the field of attention. We've built an AI system that measures attention, different indices of attention, and we've introduced this engine in different third-party products, helping them assess the attention capabilities of their users. And we've also used it in 2 other products. One of them is our clinical product for the assessment of ADHD. It's a clinical product used by hospitals. And we've launched this year also an educational product that does 2 things. First of all, it scans all the children in school and helps, organize why children are being referred for ADHD diagnosis, kind of a screening test. And the second thing, it does personalization of learning through attention. So we give recommendations. We have more than 280 different recommendations built by professionals that helps children, perform better in school.
Hello everybody, Avi, founder and CEO of Elevation Academy. What we're doing in Elevation Academy, it's basically, we call it an educational ecosystem. You probably all know that technology is changing the job market dramatically, and around 80% of the best jobs in 2030 still haven't been existed. So our company, what we're doing is trying to a little bit understand better the future. We have technology that we're working on that give us the ability to predict the job market trends. We know in a local way to take job descriptions and translate it into syllabuses, and in that way to really understand what we need to train. We're training people, and this is our front end, we're training people for the new jobs of the tech market. And basically, we're doing it in a way that people already talked about here in the conference, adaptive learning, personal syllabuses, and doing it in forms of boot camps and evening courses. But our differentiation is the ability to really understand by working with the market and working with our technology what we need to train people for. And from the other way, know exactly how to train people, not only for the skill set and for the jobs, also for the job market in a more holistic perspective of employability and soft skills. We have more surprises about the experience that we're bringing, but we'll let Omer to speak about some things that are related to Selina, and then we'll speak about it together.
Hello, so my name is Omer Kalderon. Actually live in Panama. But I arrived here a couple of days ago, and I'm going to leave tomorrow back to Panama. So Selina started about 2.5 years ago in Panama. And if you think what Selina is basically like a hotel. We call it Hospitality Network. Founded 2.5 years ago. Today we have 26 hotels in 8 different countries in Latin America. And we're expanding to other countries in Europe, the US, also in Israel. And when people ask me what's special about Selina, I say I came up with a new word called kotel, with the word co-living, co-playing, co-creating, co-working, etc., etc., etc. The idea behind it, and basically I'm leading the guest experience and also the community of Selina, and the way we look at it is we'd like to put the people in the center. So it's not just about them coming and renting a bed or a room for the night. It's basically how they can dictate their own experience. And we'll talk about it soon, about how it attached to education, how it attached to your personal growth. But basically, it's a hotel that allow you to come every day and do something completely different. And a lot of the content, a lot of the experience that actually happen over there comes and drives from our guests. And the community point of view of that is that we look at the community into three different components, where each community in each location is made out of three different groups. Our guests that are coming from all over the world, our local communities, who are our neighbors around the different Selinas, from Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, etc., etc., and of course our staff, that is also an integrated part of our community.
Hi everybody. My name is Sean Hobson. I'm the Chief Design Officer for a group called Ed Plus at Arizona State University in Phoenix, Arizona. Arizona State is the largest university in the U.S. under a single administration, and we are in the midst of a rather dramatic transformation relative to who we are as an institution. We're measuring ourselves by who we include, not who we exclude, and then how those students succeed. At the same rate, we're investing in research around a social purpose, both regionally but around the world. My background as Chief Design Officer, which is a rather unique role within higher education, is working on complex problems for which education and technology is ideally part of a responsible solution set. So at Ed Plus, we're really an R&D function for the university around that first part of the mission, around access and inclusion. And so digital education is part of that. The integration in technology to serve more students is part of that. And so we have 170 fully online degree programs that more than 38,000 students from across the country can take, receive the same quality, the same degree, the same experience as someone who comes to one of our residential campuses. These students are different. They're not the 18 to 22-year-olds. They're returning adults, and we have a set of challenges around completing and graduating students in the U.S., and we might get into that at this panel. But I represent the university perspective in this discussion, and look forward to, first of all, being here, interacting with the group, but talking with my panelists about the topic at hand.
So actually, I want to start. No. I want to actually deep into the subject and start with you, Sean, as you said, as a representative of the university. And I want to ask you, how do you imagine universities will look like in 15 years from now?
So, so I think universities are going to look a lot like they do today in 15 years, especially when you think about the rate of change in university systems and structures. I think universities, in terms of, in the U.S., and it's different here in Israel, but in the U.S., an 18 to 22-year-old has a place to go. And it's not accessible to as many people as it should, but it is the experience that the majority of people aspire to be a part of. Similar to how we heard about the military structure here, you have an individual at a certain time in their life where they're maturing. This creates community, it creates a safe place for failure, it creates relationships, networks, it ideally creates a sense of curiosity and exploration that can serve as the foundation for how that individual will grow into an adult and make a positive contribution to society. I don't believe that will get disrupted anytime soon. Now, I think what could get disrupted and what needs to be disrupted is how we're thinking about providing more access to individuals to that experience or to a similar experience that will help them skill up or earn a credential or a learning experience to help them, again, make that contribution. So the traditional system might look the same. There might be more universities under a single umbrella, and so I think the connection of institutions, both domestically and globally, is going to increase. So, you know, we are very interested and part of a lot of global partnerships with like-minded universities and companies tackling some of the same things at a global scale. But in terms of that traditional experience, now we could debate whether the classroom looks different, whether the role looks different, but as an institution itself, and you can go to any university around here and see the buildings that are getting built, it's going to be a pretty similar experience, I believe, as you might expect. And then I also ask my colleagues who have another opinion on this, what would they do and what would they advise that their kids do at 18? And overwhelmingly, the response is something similar to what I went through, probably.
Thank you. And I want to take actually your answer and kind of forward it to Avi and Omer together. I think part of your answer was how that university will be in such a way like a community. And Omer, as your role is a VP community in Selina, and Avi, you're dealing with a lot of education, so I want to get your both perspective of how community and education will look like in 15 years.
Okay, so first of all, I think that the question about universities is what do they want to do? If they want to get people ready for the job market, so they keep failing in doing that, and you can take employability and soft skills and all these great things that you can take in the university, but doing it on more practical skill set. We're talking about skills-based credentials. If we're building together with companies from the industry, the courses and the syllabuses, and then we're going to the companies and telling them, listen, these guys are super talented, this is what you wanted, this is what you get. They don't care about the degree that they had in the university. They want to take super talented people with the right skill set and work on it, and I think this can be a good step to take and be more like feel the industry more and build these skills-based credentials like other tech academies are doing. And the second thing is about the experience. We're talking about a world that is more flat with less commitments. We're looking at 2030 in a world that will have around 1 billion digital nomads. Today in the US, you have around 30% of people that are working as freelancers. And if we're looking 10 years to the future, you can find cheap and fast internet in all the world, 5G, 6G, cheap and fast flights, a few hours and $150 or $200 from Europe to the east. And you have around 50% of people that are freelancers, people in the US that get less people getting married or getting married in a different age, and people that don't own cars or don't own apartments, and the world is flat, and they're looking for other experience. We're calling it with Selina together Edu Travel, and we think that the future where people will want to take this education is through Edu Travel. If you're going to a new location, if you're going to a place that you don't know nothing, you're going to a new country, all you focus on your senses and you can be more productive when you're learning. If you go to the beach in a Selina hostel in Costa Rica, you can surf in the morning, then do a coding boot camp of Elevation Academy and learn how to code. You learn a new language, you learn a new culture, you know new friends, and you're more open to take this skill set and take it to a path that you want to build.
I would like to talk about two things related to what you said. One about community and the other one about experience. I think that everyone has the word experience in their mind, but everyone talks about different type of experiences. The way I look at experience and when I need to measure, and I'm going back to my boss, the CEO of the company, and I need to listen, the experience was A, B, and C. I need to basically go and see about what we do. And the three components that we look and we focus on experience in Selina and together with also Elevation Academy and the program that we're going to launch soon is mostly about the way we create interaction and about meaningful interaction between people, the different type of communities. It can be related to digital nomads, can be related to the local community and how they integrate into the system or into the program. The second one is the content. What type of content we offer. And then based on what you said, it can be around in a classroom next to a board. It can be outside while you're touring. It can be on the beach while just after you surf. But what type of content create and basically bring the spark of that interaction into that? And the third one is the look and feel. And the look and feel is what actually changed from one place to another. So based on what you said, is basically the buildings that are being built here at Tel Aviv University or in other universities around the world, is that you have the unique look and feel. And each place have a different place and a different way it look. And look and feel is basically how we use our five senses in order to understand and to get the type of experience that we are having. And the way I look at it is only when we have the three components coming together and actually complementing each other, only then we have a unique experience or positive experience that people are gonna go and continue and basically take it and make it into a memorable experience. Now, the second thing about community, I think both of you mentioned that, digital nomads is a massive, massive growing community all over the world. Right now, we're talking about 150 million digital nomads, and digital nomads are people that the only thing they need for the work is their laptop and internet. And this is the only thing that actually 150 million people around the world looking for when they're traveling, looking for the next job place or workspace, etc., even at home. And actually we see that about 75% of people that are arriving to Selina, the first question after a very long flight coming from Middle East all the way to Costa Rica is, what is the Wi-Fi password? Okay, let's be honest, I think all of us feel exactly the same thing because we don't have that international roaming yet. Soon it will be as well. But internet is one of the most important things. Actually, a lot of people would choose to go to a certain location and stay there for a night or two based on the connectivity. And this is something that is super, super important, not just for your well-being of being on WhatsApp or Facebook and update your friends where you are, mostly because you're always on the go and always connected. And the learning experience and how you can create that interaction is constantly going over and over. And the community, the way we look at it, is basically we want to build a home for digital nomads, and we, of course, want to supply them with different type of things for them to create that different type of experience. And education is a major, major part of it. And allowing them to move from one location to another location and have a unique experience is something that we're focusing on.
Thank you very much. My next question is to Ohad. And you're dealing mainly with ADHD challenges. And I want to hear your perspective about how it's the frequency of this problem in schools, and what are you doing, and what is your prediction for the future?
Okay, so ADHD is an epidemic. In Israel, Maccabi, one of the biggest HMOs, is quoting it to be around 14%. In the United States, it's something like 11.2% to be exact, actually, by the CDC. Whereas in the rest of the world, it's around 6%. So big, big gap. And it links me to what I think is the elephant in the room. And that is, I don't know if you heard, but robots are coming to take over our lives, at least our jobs. So everybody's talking about the need to be creative, to be innovative, right? This is like the buzzwords now. But I think the biggest hurdle for creativity and innovation now is conformity. Everybody is taught to be conformative, right? We're supposed to be conformative in our lives, in our marriage, parenthood, work, and also in education. And that's a major issue. So think about a person that is a great speaker. He looks good, he speaks to speak, he talks to talk. And we look at this person and we try to see his future and we say, oh, he looks like he has a very bright future because he kind of ticks all the boxes. But what if I told you that this person is probably the biggest daydreamer you've ever seen. He is what we say in Israel, an astronaut, right? So that changes our perspective a bit, right? He maybe is lazy, maybe he's not very successful, he's not really fulfilling his destiny. But there was actually a study coming from Georgia Tech University last year, and they were looking at the link between daydreaming and creativity. And actually, the link there is very, very strong. The clinical term for daydreaming is mind-wandering. And it seems like mind-wandering is a very critical factor for creativity and intellect. So that changes how we see things a bit. And that brings me to my point, which is if we want to advance to the 21st century skills, and especially in light of all the attentional problems, probably we need to look at our so-called weaknesses as advantages and understand how we can apply these weaknesses in different settings. So what we do in our company, for example, is once we measure attention, we don't try to change a person's attention. We try to understand how the world can adapt to that person. And I think that is key.
I think one of the subjects that came up here very strong is how, let's say, we as an organization need to be more and more fit or be tailor-made to the students or the client. And I want for a minute to look at the students' 21st century or nowadays skills that they are most needed. And I want actually to ask the same question to each of you. What do you think is the most critical character or know-how for the millennials or for the new generation? Sean, do you want to start?
Sure. So first of all, I Googled what 21st century skills is and means, because I think this is one of many things that are kind of still being talked about. And I came up with collaboration and teamwork, creativity and imagination, critical thinking and problem solving. So these seem to me like skills that are important today. And were probably important when we were kids, and then even before that. So I think, first of all, my point being that thinking about the skills and thinking about the jobs are perhaps two things that we need to think of. They're related, obviously, but perhaps need to be contextualized. So for me, all of these are important, but most importantly, and something that perhaps gets left out of the conversation, is the ability to work with people. So the human-centered concepts, and it came up a little bit before, but majors like communications are never talked about when you're talking about a 21st century degree program. You're talking about data science, you're talking about analytics, computer science, but communications is a fundamental concept or set of skills that you can get inside and outside of the classroom. And so some of these softer skills that will advance things like empathy and emotional intelligence to help you put some of these more complex jobs, and we don't even know what they're going to be like in 10, 15, 20 years from now, into adaptable learners is where I tend to skew my thinking.
I think that it's basically a sense of belonging. I think everyone knows the word community. And I think, as you said, I agree with you that most of the skill set was relevant even 50 years ago and 100 years ago, and will still be relevant 50 years from today, although they're going to be completely changed. But sense of belonging, this is something that we lack in a lot of places. And the more we become digital, and the more everything become online, we forget what used to be called offline, but I actually started to use the word on life. So it's the balance between online and on life, and how you create that sense of belonging and physical interaction with people. So it can be in a classroom, which is completely fine. It can be around a bonfire. It can be surfing on the beach. It can be everywhere. And this is the number one thing that we need to remember. At least I try to remind me and my team and the people in the ground all the time. And besides a sense of belonging, one of the most important things is that I think that the institutes, like the different companies, need also to kind of like do a mind shift of putting it people-centric. So it's not what we want to see, and actually go and ask our communities, go and ask our people, go ask our clients what the actual thing that they need, because it will constantly change and will constantly grow, and it will constantly demand us to come up with new things. And I think that the number one thing that I learned from our guests and our local community and our staff is that they have the most amazing and brilliant ideas ever. So we and my team can be the most innovative one and can be the most creative one, but our people have much greater ideas, and they are the ones that know exactly what they need right now, and they will address it only if we're going to ask them. So let's ask them.
2 points. I think, first of all, because the technological cycles that are really, really short, we're all students for life, and we're focusing on keep learning and teaching you how to learn by yourself. We're using classroom as a structure, but everything is self-paced, self-learned, and well-measured. So the first thing is to know how to learn by yourself, everything. The second thing is something about your mindset. Because in the past, we had really high correlation between the degree in university and your job, and the linear line until pension. And today, it's portfolio of micro careers, and job security is not something that you're looking at your employer and asking if he's going to pay you. Job security is to be secure in yourself, in what your abilities and what you can bring to the world and how you can shine. So today is about navigating in a complex world of opportunities, understand what you're good at, and building your career path. Because your career path is like a startup. You need to invest in it, money, R&D, and you need to keep bringing new things and pivot.
I think it is about a mind change or a set of mind. As I said before, I think personally that it's about embracing your differences, even your weaknesses, and trying to see how that really matches to what you're going after. So for example, we're talking about hyperactivity, for example. So people are being told not to be hyperactive, to restrain themselves, etc. Some of the best sales reps I've ever had were hyperactive, but they were never allowed to be hyperactive in school. Why not? I think if you want to advance really into the 21st century, we need to allow people to be themselves. When you take Ritalin, for example, my son, when he started on Ritalin, he was diagnosed then on having ADHD. He started on Ritalin. He told me, Dad, yes, I'm doing better in school. I get 15 points more, but I'm losing chunks of myself. And for me as a parent, that was devastating to hear. And so we immediately started medicinal treatment. But then it got me started thinking about what are we trying to do? We're trying to get everybody to behave the same. Sit still, don't talk about that, don't think about that. If we want to really go to the 21st century, we need to allow this diversity.
Thank you very much. And for me, it's a surprise. We are almost run out of time. So I want to ask each one of you to say one statement or one advice that you will say that you think is the most crucial or important to, let's say, 6 years old child. Avi, I know that you have. I don't know about the rest, but
16?
Six. And it also will be your closing sentence.
Okay, so I actually have a 6-year-old, and so does it have to be my kid or somebody else's? Okay.
Just a random person.
Right. So then it's continue to ask questions. I think curiosity is something that we should never stop pursuing. I think it will lead to ideally a passion. And if you can find your passion and you can do that in life, at work, and ideally it's for the betterment of society in some sort of meaningful way, then you can kind of leave this place and say you left it a better place because of your existence. And for my 6-year-old, even though 50 questions before lunch can be tiring at times, I try and encourage her to keep it up.
So I don't have a child yet, but I would definitely say be as multidisciplinary as possible. I think this is something that going to be much bigger in the future. And like as Avi said earlier, you get different careers and different paths in lives. Try and taste as much as possible before you kind of target on something. And don't forget that it's completely fine to change. So you can focus on something for a bit and then go and change and do it over and over again, like I did.
I'll take Mandela, and I'm wishing them, may your hopes reflect your dreams and not your fears. And dream big and be better you all the time.
First of all, I love the question. I think it's a great question. And I do share what you guys said. I do want to give a pointer just for the parents this time. Yeah. And I think for a 6-year-old, the most important thing you can do as a parent is to make sure your child is happy. If your child is happy, everything in life will fall into place. That's what I believe. Forget about grades. Happiness is more important.
So I want to really thank you, and me personally took a lot from your answers. And thank you very, very much. And thank you.
Thank you, guys.